All right, we're in Psalm 102. I hope that you go and grab a warm beverage, sit down, and get ready because this one's a little bit longer, but it's really good too. So let's look at what verses 1 and 2 of Psalm 102 say. It really tells us to pray desperately. Watch for what it's saying here. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Let my cry come to you. Do not hide your face from me in the day of my distress. Incline your ear to me. Answer me speedily in the day when I call. Pray desperately is what he's saying. Number 3, 4, and 5 teach us to pray honestly. Look what it says. For my days pass away like smoke, and my bones burn like a furnace. My heart is struck down like grass and has withered. I forget to eat my bread because of my loud groaning. My bones cling to my flesh. He's pointing out how bad things are. Now you may say, is he really passing away like smoke? Is his bones really catching on fire? No, I don't think that that's what it's saying. What he's saying is, it feels like everything about me is falling apart. Like everything that I had put my trust in is seeming to vanish like smoke. You may have had a moment like that, and that's what he's laying before. He's not putting his confidence in himself. What does all this say about the human condition? Verse 6 and 7 says this, I am like a desert owl of the wilderness, like an owl of the waste places. I lie awake. I am a lonely sparrow on the housetop. You can just imagine what's happening in his heart and in his soul. Let's look at what this says about anxiety. All of the day, my enemies taunt me. Those who deride me use my name for a curse. For I eat ashes like bread and mingle tears with my drink. Because of your indignation and anger, you have taken me up and thrown me down. My days are like an evening shadow. I wither away like grass. Whenever I was young, I had some people who didn't prefer country music, and they would always mock the song that said, there's a tear in my beer. Now, I hope that many of you have never actually experienced that, though I bet you have experienced a time of being upset. And what's interesting is you may have thought it came from that country song, but look at what it says in verse 9. For I eat ashes like bread and mingle tears with my drink. What this tells me is that sentiment goes far back, much earlier than when that country song was written. We see it written here in the Psalms, and what I would say is that it probably is part of the human experience altogether. Well, what are we to do about it? Well, what we're to do is we're to have endurance. We're to pray honestly. It's funny. A little while back, I had an opportunity to go camping. And I was out in an area where there was a lot of farms. A lot of farming, a lot of agriculture. Even if they weren't growing it for crops, maybe they were growing it for hay for their animals. But everybody was depending on the rain to make the crops grow. And what's interesting about this particular situation is that I was camping for fun, and I was with my family, and the rain came down. And I'm not talking about a little bit of rain. I'm talking about there was rain standing in the bottom of our tent, literally pools. Everything in there was soaked. So what we did is we jumped up and we took everything inside and tried to keep it as dry as possible. Then we went and tucked my kids into a situation. Then my wife and I decided, you know, what we'll do is we'll just sleep in the truck. That's how we'll get through this evening. And I was sitting there, I was a little bit upset with God. And then suddenly I realized, you know what? there's hundreds of farmers around here that are thrilled that there's rain. And then I started thinking, you know what? My kids have just seen the way we got to deal with difficult situations. They've just seen, how do we deal with a trying moment? How do we deal with it when things don't go just our way? How do we interact with one another when things are stressful? How do we love even when things are difficult? And suddenly I realized that God had blessed us with that rain. Though I didn't want to be woken up in the middle of the night, though at 2:30 in the middle of the night I didn't want all of our stuff to be soaked, I really saw that this became a blessing because it gave us an opportunity to teach my children, here's how we deal with difficulties. Here's how we interact. And I realized God's faithfulness to those farmers was more important than my comfort. And I laid there then praising God for this storm. Now, your storm may be exceedingly difficult right now, but I want you to know the storms are always meant for a blessing. How you respond to it will interact with how you can deal with it. How you can set an example through it. How you can show God's faithfulness in the midst of it. How you can come through it. See, this talks about the human condition. This talks about anxiety. And this encourages us to be people of endurance. But what I want you to do is pray honestly, sincerely, and let God speak to you. Then in verse 12 it goes on, "For you, O Lord, are enthroned forever. You are remembered throughout all generations. You will arise and have pity on Zion. It is the time of favor, to favor her. The appointed time has come on her dust. Nations will fear the name of the Lord, and all the kings of the earth will fear your glory." What does this say about His rule? Well, we saw a couple chapters back how His rule was obvious and clear. And what this is communicating is that we can trust His rule. For the Lord builds up Zion. He appears in His glory. He regards the prayer of the destitute and does not despise their prayer. What does that say about His character and how He's always watching? And you may be in your storm, but what I want you to know is God's character is good. He continues to be good. You can trust Him, and so believe that. Verse 18, "Let this be recorded for a generation to come, so that a people yet to be created may praise the Lord." What is this saying? Let it be noted that yes, in the midst of the storm, God was faithful. Let it be recorded so that people, when they go through storms in the future, can know God will be faithful. We can continue to count on Him. That He looked down, this is verse 9, that He looked down from His holy height, from heaven. The Lord looked at the earth to hear the groans of the prisoners, to set free those who were doomed to die, that they may declare in Zion the name of the Lord, and in Jerusalem His praise, when peoples gather together and kingdoms to worship the Lord. What does this say about His faithfulness? Look at what it continues. "He has broken my strength in mid-course. He has shortened my days. Oh my God, I say, take me not away in the midst of my days. You whose years endure throughout all generations. Of old you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment. You will change them like a robe, and they will pass away. But you are the same, and your years have no end. The children of your servants shall dwell secure. Their offspring shall be established before you." What does this say about His endurance? What it tells me is not only are we to pray desperately, but we're to pray honestly. Not only are we to pray honestly, but we're to pray confidently, knowing that He will endure, that He will see us through, that He does remain faithful. So in the midst of your storm, I'm not asking you to act like everything's fine. What I'm asking you to do is know that beyond those storm clouds sit a God who is faithful and just and will see you through it. So hold out and trust Him to lead you.